Our story begins in a world where academic excellence means everything. If you do well in your studies, you have incredible social status, and almost everything you desire comes true. Determining that academic excellence is a completely different process than in our world, where every student is given a test called the National University Test. If you pass and enroll into the university, and eventually graduate, you are considered the best of the bunch and enjoy all sorts of facilities. Those who do not pass are considered worthless and belong to the lower social class of the society. There are students who can easily pass the exam with their innate abilities. These students are called L-type or learning type, who have been born talented. Unfortunately, not all the students are born with such abilities and have to suffer the fate of a social outcast. Their rich parents cannot allow their children to suffer such a misfortune and want them to succeed no matter what. These parents make their children, if only for their own good, to use various cheating methods in order to succeed, even going so far as to mechanically improve their own children. These students are named the C-type, or cheating type. Over the years, C-type students have developed various techniques and tools to help them pass the exam. But just like them, the university has also evolved and made their exams outrageously difficult. The punishment for cheaters has also become drastic. However, that is not the end of their problems. As more students pass the exam, their opportunities would decrease. The C-type students had begun to eliminate the L-type as soon as they copy from them. Soon, the L-type begin to pair up with the C-type. By forming pairs, the L-type were able to stay safe under the protection of their C-type partner, who could cheat off of them, while protecting them from the other C-types. We catch a glimpse of two men, one dressed all in white, staring down from his massive skyscraper, while the other is dressed like a homeless man, tampering with the nearby dumpster. At first glance, the man in the expensive suit looks like an L-type, but that's not true. The dumpster guy is an L-type student. These two men had paired up for the university exam, and while the L-type had studied diligently, the C-type stole the paper and became what he is today, a hotshot in the corporate world. You see, the exam is not really about knowledge. It's about who can pass it, and no one cares how. A few years later, Shokatsu Mumei and Shokatsu Ku are about to take their exams. Mumei's father had been unjustly imprisoned by the government, and so the two cousins hoped that by passing the exam, they would gain enough social status to free their father from prison. Ku is the L-type student, and Mumei is the C-type, who inherited the famous Shokatsu technique of cheating from his ancestors. Once the exam begins, the entire class transforms into Naruto's Chunin exam. Cheating is going on left and right, while the stranger proctoring the exam just has a drink and goes to sleep. The room where the exam takes place is riddled with traps. All the usual cheating methods such as electronic devices, glasses, or drones can be easily detected. While Mumei protects his L-type with his paper manipulation technique, the whole class, which is more than 90% C-types, is somewhat frustrated. The room seems to be filled with laser trackers to detect cheaters. Mumei uses his Shokatsu technique to eliminate all trackers by creating special planes with the papers he has. Now that that was done, he could use his zoom-in eye lenses to cheat off of Ku, who had already finished all her answers. Suddenly, Mumei is bitten by a strange bug. This was the work of another C-type student, Jun, who excels at controlling bugs and using them to find answers to the exam. The exam soon turns into a battlefield, with Jun's bugs and the other disgruntled C-types attacking Mumei as well. However, Mumei's skills and paper technique are far superior to them, and he alone can take on all the students. Just as all the C-types are about to pounce on Mumei to attack him at once, they are flung away by the examiner's scream. The man is no ordinary person either. He has abilities just like the C-type students to prevent them from cheating. With another scream, he summons frog tongues that trap all the C-type students from doing anything. Jun tries to send his insects out to finish him off, but the man with the big alcohol gourd can handle even the smallest of moves. Of all the students, only Mumei manages to break free and tries to fight the man. However, this was all his plan, and all of Mumei's attacks were really just a diversion, so that Jun could plant one of his poisonous bugs in the examiner's alcohol gourd. As the man drinks from it, he falls to the ground paralyzed, and the students are freed from his bind. The time is already very short, and the examiner laughs that they cannot pass the exam because nobody can solve the exam in 1 minute, or even cheat everything. Mumei proves him wrong by using another of his techniques that allows him to split an exact copy of Ku's paper with only the name to be filled in. He passes the exam. Mumei, Jun, and Ku manage to pass the entrance exam and enter the university, but for the Shokatsu cousins, their work is not done. They have to go through the university to gain social status. Ku reminds her cousin again why they are here in the first place, but Mumei has already forgotten about his father and fallen in love with an L-type student named Ryu. As soon as he sees her, he is head over heels in love with her. But before he can express his feelings for her, he is already ordered to take a test along with all the other students. This time, the test takes place in the middle of Antarctica, where the temperature is very realistic, -273 degrees. The examiner, Mammoth, is a cosplayer who loves to create mammoths of the Ice Age and is a strict teacher when it comes to the exam conditions. Despite all that, you can bet that they cheated because all the students passed the exam with ease. Later that day, in the cafeteria, Jun tries to flirt with Ku, while Mumei tries to get to know Ryu. Suddenly, an announcement sounds on the PI system, and Ryu is called to the teacher's office. Realizing that the school suspects her of cheating, Mumei rushes to the scene to protect his crush's honor. Although it was pretty obvious that everyone had cheated, the teacher managed to look into the security camera and find the one person who had not cheated and accused her of cheating. He saw her holding her pen strangely for a while and thought the pen was some kind of new high-tech gadget. He is on the verge of breaking the pen, but Wang, the tutor, suggests another solution. Why not let her take the exams again? Mammoth prepares the exam again, but confiscates the pen. Mumei and Ko watch anxiously next to Mammoth as Ryu takes the exam. Mumei soon realizes that Mammoth has intentionally made the questions 5 times more difficult in order to fail her. A fight breaks out between the teacher and Mumei, because he believes that Ryu can only pass the exam with the high-tech pen. Mumei manages to defeat his teacher and get the pen to Ryu, but by the time he gets there, the exam is already over. Mammoth laughs at his victory, but Ryu actually manages to get a perfect score on the test. He gives her back the pen, in which Ryu sees the picture of her parents, which was what she was looking at earlier. The tests at school are relentless, and this time the exam is on a literal airplane. During the flight, the examiner announces that anyone who cheats or fails will be thrown off the plane. Many of the students suffer this fate, and while Jun manages to pass the exam, he too is shot down at the last second due to a malfunction. Mumei and Ku, on the other hand, pass the exam with ease. Later in the day, Ryu comes around to thank Mumei for helping her earlier. She asks him how she can repay the debt, and while Mumei would want to be the pen wrapped around her chest, instead, he asks her to buy him a pen just like hers. So she takes him to a nearby university cafe shop, where she bought her pen. As soon as they enter the shop, the owner, Shu, takes a glance at Mumei and instantly recognizes him to be a C-type student. The man takes Mumei inside a secret compartment filled with pens that can help with cheating. But Mumei disregards all sorts of extraordinary pens, just to choose one similar to the color of the Ryu's pen. The next day, the whole school goes to swimming lessons to blow off steam from regular exams. Psych! The whole swimming pool is actually an exam itself. The whole pool splits in half, and the students are plunged into a huge artificial pool, with exam tables right in front of them. The exam begins without an examiner present, but just as the cheating begins, the students are attacked by sharks. The examiner turns out to be a supermassive, hyper-intelligent shark that cares nothing for human life, using her connection to other sharks to literally drown the cheaters. Even with students who do not cheat, she tears off their clothes just to make sure they have no cheats on them. Even in these times, Mumei and his techniques come to the rescue, and the shark is no match for his abilities. He ends up cheating and passing regardless of all that she throws at him. From the sidelines, Shuo watches as he realizes that he has finally been given a worthy opponent. The next day, the entire school is shocked to learn that Mumei had lost to someone, and that someone was none other than Shu. The man had managed to befriend Mumei, only to defeat him at the very last moment, after learning all of his techniques. Because of this loss, Mumei is discouraged and stops coming to school, realizing that he was not good enough to make it. To bring Mumei back to his senses, Ku disguises herself in a shady costume and takes Mumei to the place, where his father is held as a prisoner by the government. As soon as they reach the high tower, they are confronted by a strange man who is wearing an even stranger mask. The man grabs Ku, who surrenders almost too easily. He then shows Mumei's father tied to a crucifix and tells Mumei that he will only release the 2 hostages if Mumei can defeat him. When Mumei unleashes his finest techniques, he still cannot defeat the strange man. It seems that the man knows more about the Shokatsu skills than he does. When Mumei still cannot defeat him after several attempts, the man offers to teach him the ultimate Shokatsu technique and asks Mumei to follow him to the top of the tower. Mumei is then taken to a sauna, where he is pressed by tons of sweaty men, so that Mumei learns to harness the power of heat. After that, Mumei is taught to quickly analyze combustible and non-combustible objects to understand what fire can do. He is taken to the highest level of the tower, where he must fight with limited powers due to the lack of oxygen. There, he learns how to control fire. Eventually, Mumei manages to master the ultimate Shokatsu technique that harnesses the power of fire and battles the strange man. After defeating the man, he realizes that the man is actually his father. Finally, having taught his son everything he knows, he gives Mumei the family's legendary pen and sends him back to school. With this new pen, which is apparently supposed to be super strong, Mumei returns to school with a new attitude toward life itself. He is determined to beat Shu, and he will soon get a chance. The next exam is in the middle of a large river that leads up to a massive waterfall. Those who pass the test will be allowed to use the motorboats and escape. Those who fail or cheat are sent straight down the waterfall to their doom. The exam begins, but it is not an exam for a grade, but a battle between Shu and Mumei. Shokatsu, who by now has realized that Shu has the ability to pull strings and control things around him, has a perfect counter. Mumei uses his earlier wind techniques to control his new firepower and is on the verge of victory when he notices Ku's motorboat heading for the waterfall. He abandons the fight to save his cousin and lunges to her rescue, only to fall from the waterfall himself. Thankfully, Sho saves them. The exam is now over, and everyone has obviously passed. Finally, the students are allowed to blow off some steam at a fashion show and an exclusive dinner for women only at the class teacher's house. But all the fun is quickly over when the final exam comes around. This time it's going to be really tough, because the examiner is a really famous voice actor. His voice is so nostalgic that the students cannot bear to listen to it. With his voice alone, he manages to make the students forget about the exams and make them dream about their childhood dreams. At this rate, almost everyone in the school was about to fail. Even with the powers of Shu and Mumei combined, the voice actor is far too powerful to deal with. Mumei can block his abilities, but it would all be for nothing if his L-type partner cannot pass the test. So he tries his best to take down the actor, and succeeds. But the sly actor realizes this too, and starts attacking Ko with his super nostalgic voice, only for it not to work at all, and for Ku to pass the exam. It turns out that the poor girl never had a TV when she was little. The exam was done with, but suddenly the class teacher appears from the shadows and snatches the answer sheets out of everyone's hands. She reveals herself to be an alien who invented this whole university system so that she could test if humans had evolved to be a good enough species. She reveals a giant satellite from the school that pulls the moon closer to Earth. She asks Mumei to give an exam to prove his worth, showing if he can save the world from destruction. She locks Mumei in an anti-Shikatsu chamber and makes him take the exam. With her knowing all the students and their moves, they cannot stop her or deactivate the chamber, but soon they all work together to defeat her. Even the teachers and the examiner come to help, considering the world is about to end. The chamber is eventually deactivated, and Mumei manages to cheat his way to victory, saving the world from a massive moon collision. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this.